Let me point out one more thing regarding the column width. Let me go back to column A. If I take this column and I drag it back to the left, notice that the text right here seems not to fit in this column. Well, I could point in here, click and drag, or if I double click, Excel automatically finds the cell with the longest section of text, and then it changes the width to fit that particular cell. So notice that Phonathon is the one that takes the most room in here, and that's exactly what Excel did. It gave me enough room to show that text. Now, one more thing that we need to do regarding the numbers in here. I need to change these numbers from here all the way to here to be presented using the comma style. So I'm going to click at 67,286. Now I could click and drag to select this range. I'm going to use another method. I'm going to hold the shift key down. First you click inside the cell where you want to start selecting. You hold the shift key down on the keyboard, and then you point and click at the last cell that you would like to include in the range. And once you have that, you then click the comma or the format that you would like to use for those numbers. So I'm going to click the comma style. Okay. Now I mentioned at the beginning of this lecture that the purpose of this lecture was to create a worksheet where we have data, and inside that worksheet we would also create a chart to represent a section of that data, and that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to click away right here. I would like to generate a chart that basically represents the data starting at A3 and ending at the 21,097. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and click up to here. Now anytime you need to generate a chart, what you need to do first is to always select the data that you want to include, that you want to use to generate that chart. So that's what I just did. I selected the data. Once you have the data selected, you're going to go to Insert, and then you're going to pick the type of chart that you would like to use to represent that data. Okay. In this case, we're going to pick from the columns section, and then we're going to pick cylinder. Notice that right away we get a chart that represents the data. We will need to modify it, add titles and so on, but right away you should see something that basically describes the data that you have in there. Now this chart right here is directly linked to the data. If you make any changes to the data right now, they will automatically be reflected in here. This is called embedding. So this chart is embedded into this worksheet. Now notice that the chart appear and it's overlapping my data. I would like to move it out of the way so that I can see the chart and the data separately. So if you point at the edge of the chart, notice that you get the crosshairs with the pointy ends. Okay, you could do it anywhere as long as it's pointing to an edge. I'm going to point to it, click, drag it down and over to the left, starting at cell A11. So now I'm going to let it go. The next thing that we need to do is to widen this chart so that it goes from column A to column H. Now if you point at this little section right here, you notice that there's a few dots in here. Okay, those little dots, next to those dots you see that arrow that points two ways. Well, that is actually the handle for changing the width of this particular chart. Now I would like to have this chart automatically latch to column H, okay, to the end of column H. So what I'm going to do is while I'm doing this, I'm going to hold the alternate key down. So I'm going to go here, click, drag, and as I click, notice that this automatically links to the end of column H. So I'm going to let go of this, and now it goes exactly to the width of column H. And I'm going to do the same thing so that it goes down to row 23. So now I'm going to point at that edge right here, hold the alternate key down, and then drag this up so that it latches to, it snaps at row 23. Now every time they work with an object in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and you have that object selected like we are right now, and I know that is the object selected because I see the edges of the object. I also get at the top in the ribbon either 1, 2, or 3 sometimes contextual tabs. Now for the chart tools, I have 3 contextual tabs. I got design, layout, format. Within the design, I see different chart styles. I'm going to click at the more button here, and I'm going to pick style 34. If I point over here, it says that this is style 34, so I'm going to click at it. And notice that now I got a slightly different background in here and a slightly different shading right here. Now I'm going to click away from the chart. If I click at J9, notice that I no longer see the contextual tab at the top.